Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to the latest edition of RCB Entertainment Show, where we look at upcoming TV series and movies debuting in Ireland and the UK for 2022. And just a few weeks ago, in fact, not only a few weeks ago, just 1 week ago, season 4 of The Sinner, an anthological sort of detective meets sort of dare I say, true sort of crime sort of scenarios. Season 4 debuted on Netflix UK on January the 6th, directed by the one and only Jessica Biel. The leading role is the character we all know, love and dear, Harry Ambrose, played by the one and only Bill Pullman. Bill, I watched The Sinner, and I went back and I watched season 1 there, and I watched season 2. And what struck me was these sort of mini sort of episodes, these mini sort of catalogues that are out at the moment, these limited sort of editions. And The Sinner really was the first one of that in terms of dictating a story and carrying it over multiple episodes, but not really dragging it on to the point of exhaustion either. And once that one story was brought to its crescendo, then they went away, reset, got another intriguing story, and went with that same sort of concept for 8 episodes. So you definitely were sort of pioneers, dare I say, in terms of that sort of concept. But it's one that I find that is really fascinating, and it makes you want to watch more, but it doesn't overdraw the whole thing. It doesn't drag it on for 24 episodes or 32 episodes. It's nice, it's confined, but it speculates the whole true scenario.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. It sounds like it was good for you, and it was good for me because we shot it. It would take about 5 months to shoot a season, and then I'm free to do other projects and wait for the next season to come up. So I thought that 8 episodes was pretty darn good for my life too.
And Bill, in terms of the 8 episodes, you get an awful lot of content and detail in terms of each sort of episode, in terms of there's so many facets of the scenario are played out in terms of the particular sort of episode as well, that it sort of leaves so many unanswered sort of questions that makes you want to come back and see, can episode 2 answer those questions, and episode 2 and ask more questions that you try and see, can you solve in episode 3. It's almost like a sleuth sort of detective sort of working, where you're asking the audience the questions rather than asking them to, dare I say, to the people, the cast around you.
Yeah, I tend to think that that the nature of the it's a kind of why done it rather than who did it, and that's why did this happen. Each one starts with an event where season 1 starts with a murder by a very unlikely woman. And what could have been and you have to unpeel the onion in a way. And then, you realize that Ambrose is this, he's an outlier. He's not the he's not the head of the pack in his little town. He's kind of like one of the guys that stands off to the side, never comfortable really with the whole crew. But and maybe has a lot of secrets himself that he's hiding, that you don't know quite why he's doing what he's doing, and then you discover more and more about him. But he's really empathic in a way. He kind of reads people, I think, and he's trying to read each of these different characters in each season and trying to piece together why would this most unlikely thing happen. And I think that's kind of a unique approach that we've taken.
And Bill, it's based on an international bestseller in terms of a series of books. But in terms of Jessica Biel directing, we all know she's a renowned actress, been in so many projects in
Well,
terms of
she
episode.
didn't actually, Jim. I just to set this part of it straight. She didn't direct the first. She produced it though. She
Mm,
produced it and acted in it. So she didn't
okay.
direct it the first season. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Bill, in terms of that. But
She let
Working
somebody else take that job.
I let someone else take, no doubt about it. But working alongside Jessica in sort of season one, in terms of that sort of relationship that's between the two sort of central characters, telling that sort of story intrigue, was that sort of dare I say, one-to-one sort of telekinesis mind sort of thing, where you have to be so in tune with each other to try and portray those emotions and to get it across when it's so on a one-to-one basis.
That's a very good question, Jim, because I think, that was new for me. To do a television series, I haven't really been doing any really recurring television series, and to have that kind of time to spend with the character and be able to interact with another character like Jessica's character over that long a period, you really do have to kind of look at the molecular levels of each other's character and explore it as carefully as you can, because in this kind of the story of the detective in trying to understand each other, the consequences are very high. And I think I really got hooked about doing this character, Harry Ambrose, with that first season, and worth working with Jessica Biel.
And Bill, season one was so successful, and once it finished, and obviously Jessica's character was told, when it sort of finished, did you think, where can we go with this in terms of season two? If it comes back for another season, will it have the same effect? Will it have the same appeal? Trying to tell another sort of a story? Will people sort of drift away from, well, that's been done really, in terms of that? Was there a bit of nervous apprehension to see the reaction? Obviously, season two was going to be the making or the breaking of it, dare I say.
That's very good. Yes, you describe it very very well, because we could have gone any direction after the first season. There was a novel that we had, that director and writer Derek Simons had adapted to make the first season, but at the end, all the way through the whole time, we didn't know if there would be picked up, and if it did, who would it follow? Maybe it would follow Jessica's character, maybe Harry, maybe the same actors would be in it each year. Maybe it would be all different actors. Nobody comes back, just the idea, maybe. So by the time it kind of like, once it landed, and they determined they had enough of an audience and they were excited about it, they it was really kind of like a little Christmas present to realize, oh, I get to be the guy that recurs season to season. That's a nice present.
And Bill, you mentioned that season to season. Was there a guarantee when it got picked up for season two that you would have a future sort of two seasons, or was it based on the concept? Well, we'll review it again after that season in terms of rating, in terms of audience, in terms of appeals. So were you constantly trying to each season sort of wait in apprehension, or did you have a guarantee from that second season on?
There, I don't know. At that point, we didn't have any guarantee whatsoever. No, we were waiting, and I guess that's common to quite a few shows. Once even whether they're going to get picked up, and there's no guarantee, because it's so uh, fast changing. It seems to be a good going well. Oh, now it's not going well, or something like that. we I felt like I don't have a lot of context because I haven't done a lot of television, but we never had a kind of like sense that we were going to have the rug pulled out from under us. They were USA Network that did the production. They loved the story. For them, it was an important part of their list of what they're doing. It's a small channel, USA, in the States, but eventually it gets to Netflix, which is where it is in Ireland. And that is when most of the people watch it once it goes to the wide streaming platform. And so in the States, most of my friends and things haven't seen the fourth
Okay.
season like you in Ireland are getting it before they do because they it goes on Netflix maybe in April or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Bill, in terms of the Harry Ambrose character, did you find in yourself having to try and revisit it for season two in terms of how you were going to alter it or change it to maybe freshen it up? Obviously, you're going to be interacting with a new story, new characters, new surroundings, new personalities. Did you feel that you'd have to bring a twist to the character in season sort of two to make him a different Harry Ambrose than what he was in season one, or was it very much the same sort of stark personalities that we saw the traits of the character ran consecutively through?
Yes, I think that was what was the opportunity that we got to take, which was to follow Harry Ambrose in a very organic sense of like first season he's there at that and we leave off and then when we pick back up he's just had that first experience. What does he bring into this next experience? How does what he learned in the first season change him in the second season? So basically the same. To answer your question, it's basically the same guy. No new. He's not limping suddenly, or he doesn't wear an eye patch, that kind of thing. But it follows organically, season to
Okay.
season. Yeah.
And Bill, in terms of season four, I know you don't want to give much away, but in terms of maybe what's in sort of a store for Harry Ambrose in this upcoming season, is there, as dare I say, is there one or two subplots or a twist developing that are very true that we need to root out for ourselves?
Well, I think yeah. The surprise is that by this point the season three was quite anguishing for Harry, and he committed an act at the end of season three that haunts him still. He pulled the trigger on a man that didn't have a gun, and
Okay.
that is weighing on him. But he's also had to retire. And he retired without conviction on any count. And for most people, for it was largely self-defense, but not entirely. So there's something about that's bugging him, and he's retired, and he's with uh, his girlfriend that he had met in the third season, and they're trying this thing called relationship, which he's very
Okay.
poor at. You can, no matter what
An
age
alien
you take a
concept.
whack at it, it can be as challenging as ever. What's that?
An alien concept.
An alien concept. Yeah, something that really is about as pleasant as be having a needle stuck up your. No, he's actually really wanting desperately to be in this relationship with her. First time, that he feels like someone sees him for all of his ugliness and whatever. She's interesting that way, and but he's going with her. She's an artist and she's on a retreat in another place than what they lives at. It's in Maine, and he goes along, but he's not sleeping. He's off his meds. He's right at the top of the story. He's very jangly, and things don't get better from there before they get quite a bit worse.
And Bill, finally for you, I'll turn it over for the last 30 seconds. In terms of, I know there's a treat in store for our audience. You have a quick surprise for us. But before we finish talking about the sinner, I might turn it over to yourself and Harry Ambrose character. You might enlighten all our audience for the final 30 seconds talking about the sinner. There's a surprise after this. But why should they tune in on mass, and should they watch season four of The Sinner on Netflix, and what's in store for them?
Well, I think they're going to see amazing uh, story set on an island that's off the coast of Maine. Very much like what it's like Ireland, where things happen on an island differently than they happen on a mainland. And I think that becomes like easier to see the allegory of things when you're on an island. How tribes are with each other, and how murders happen, how things can be seem very quiet and unlikely to have a murder, and yet there it is.
And Bill, before we leave, was talking to you sort of pre-air, and you told me that you were intrigued by our sort of little quiz that we played with Danny DeVito. You heard that, and you wanted to turn the spotlight back on me and put me in an anxious sort of position and put the nerves sort of rolling, and obviously put me sweating here on the concept. You want to test my own knowledge of Ireland. Obviously, I know this is going to go bad before we start, but I never was one to turn a request down anyway. So especially from someone from Bill Pullman, it can't be done. So Bill, you can put me on the spot.
Well, you're not going to be on the spot, because I don't take these things. I get nervous with questions too, so I'm giving you some real softballs. I appreciate the fact you only give me 30 seconds because you're so nervous about what you're doing. But my great grandfather emigrated from Ireland, and so these are some questions that I won't expect you to know, but maybe you do. Okay. So just as a wild guess kind of thing, when did my great grandfather emigrate from Ireland to the U.S.?
I'd say around 1876, maybe, or between 1876 and 1890, somewhere between that timeline.
You're in the right century, Jim. Give him a rose petal. But it's 1850, so he was part of that whole famine thing. That he left Skerries County, Dublin, Skerries, in 1850 when he was 11 years old, and he was brought by his father, John. Okay, here's another question. His father, John, was a farmer or a linen manufacturer, a rope maker, or all of the above?
Times were tough back then. I'd say all of the above.
Yes! So good, because farmers were raising flax, and then they'd make a little linen at the home cottage. They were poor as dirt, but and he made his own rope, but he made his way with 11 children across the waters. So you did well with this quiz. I had other questions about Ireland too, because I always love the times I've gone to Ireland. No.
I was saying 30 seconds, but if you want to ask them, go ahead. No bother. I'm on a bit of a roll. I might as well continue for the last.
Yes. Okay. Well, what's always interesting to me about Ireland is, how Irish it is. And then I thought, I better look up, see how Irish it is. And I saw that there was 85% of the people living in Ireland are Irish, and that's pretty darn good. Of the other people, what do you think is the country that has the most non-Irish people from? Let me give you some choices. Lithuania, Romania, UK, or Poland?
Poland. There's a strong Poland.
Yes, you got it. There's I think 123,000 Poles living there. So it's that. Jim, you're on a roll. Let me get you another one here. English is spoken throughout the island. How many people speak Irish? I was curious to look at that up.
I'd say it's under 5%. Maybe fluent Irish would be, I'd say, definitely below 10%. So I'm going somewhere between 5 and 10%.
That's so interesting. That I have a feeling you know more about it than Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is saying 40% of the population. But do 40% of the people you know speak Irish?
No. The only people I ever hear speaking Irish is Irish teachers, and there's the small the Gaeltacht area in Connemara and West sort of Kerry. But if you went to Dublin and you went to walk around the streets asking questions in Irish, you'd find very well to find someone to give you an answer.
That is so interesting. Yes, I love that part of it. Okay, another question is 90% of the people are Catholic, identify as Catholic, and how many of those, what percentage go to church?
Out of 90%, ooh, 45 to 50.
That's pretty good. Yes, this Wikipedia says, or one of these sources said 30% go to church. So they're a little hard on you. You know, they're saying that oh, they're Catholic, but they're not. But it is such a Catholic inspired place. But what holiday derived from Irish culture? Christmas, Easter, or Halloween?
Halloween.
You know your country. I didn't know that. I
Yeah, yeah,
thought that it really comes from the old pagan part of
yeah.
Ireland, doesn't it?
The banshees, and the banshees are synonymous with Ireland, and the witches. Uh, Folklore has it that going back to the 1500s, and that the witches actually were prominent in the old Gaelic times in Ireland. And whenever you heard a banshee wailing, that was there was a witch in the area, sort of stuff like that. And then the folklore will go around that there was a massive witch hunt, then to find out who was the witch or something. The banshee was alerting the people that there was a witch in the area.
Oh, just hearing you say those in with the good Irish accent, really makes you. I believe the storytelling that Irish people are famous for, and some of my relatives are storytellers like that. But yeah, they love to get the little goosebumps on the back of your neck.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, you did very well with my quiz, I'd say, Jim. Thank you so much for indulging me and allowing
No
me to
problem.
look up some stuff about Ireland.
No problem, Bill. It was fascinating. There, I said I thought you were going to ask me for some Irish spelling, so good job. But no problem, Bill. Anytime in the world. We wish you all the best, and with the center, Bill, and hopefully we'll speak to you sometime in the near future. And do visit us sometime here in Ireland in the near future.
Oh, I look forward to it. I look forward to getting there again soon. And thank you so much for good conversation.
No problem. Take care, Bill.
Take care.